someone thought I was a charity worker, then tried to have me arrested. I ran a charitable event for my work around this time last year. We usually put on a carnival to raise money for charity and raise awareness of our company, establish ourselves in the community, attract customers, but all the money goes to charity. So I stood up at the carnival and gave a big speech about the importance of the charity and how the cause was personal to me and my family. It funded cerebral palsy research that particular year, and my father lives with it. I was very visible throughout the whole event, sharing my story and raising money and running carnival booths, etc. Fast forward to a couple months ago, I bumped into someone while in line to get coffee who said they'd met me at that event last year. We ended up starting up pleasant conversations, so sat outside to drink our coffees together. In hindsight, she seemed a little off, a little tightly wound, but it didn't register over such a brief encounter. She mentioned how she had been so glad to see a large-scale cerebral palsy charity event and hadn't seen us do any events since. I had started to explain the yearly nature of the carnival and how we pick different charities, but she, unintentionally, cut me off, caught up in her own emotions, as she began to recount a moving story about a sibling who suffered from the condition. I was telling her how terrible that was and how I completely understood, in reference to my own experiences. Before I could really get into talking about my own story, she checked the clock and said she didn't realize how much time had passed, and she needed to go, but she appreciated the work I did and my support listening to her, etc. She began fumbling in her purse for her keys. Then, as she was leaving, she said, "And here's a little something to support your work," producing something folded in a napkin from her purse and leaving it at my side. I'm an interior designer, so I had no idea what she could be talking about in terms of supporting my work, but we were seated just by the street parking, so she was gone too quickly for me to ask. I unfolded the napkin, and to my shock she had slipped $100 into the napkin. I was dumbfounded with confusion as to why this perfect stranger would give me any money to support my work in commercial interior design, without getting anything designed in exchange. It took me a while to figure it out, but I eventually realized she must have come to the carnival and assumed the charity itself had put on the event, so thought I worked for them, not an interior design firm. It took me 10 to 15 minutes to realize, so it was far too late to try and catch up to her, and all we'd exchanged were first names. I didn't even know where she worked. So, without any hopes of tracking her down, I figured the best thing to do would be to just donate the money to the charity. I did, and that was that. Fast forward to last month. Somehow or another this woman came to realize I don't work for the charity but am in fact in the for-profit sector. I think it is because I was featured in an online ad the firm's been running. She left a message on my work phone, half angry, half embarrassed, saying she was willing to forego holding me accountable if I paid her back in full. Problem is I didn't have the money anymore. I donated it. I explained this to her, but she wanted proof. I left her a message. She didn't pick up when I called, explaining the company ran a carnival event to raise money for the charity, but that we aren't the charity ourselves, and that I absolutely did donate her money to the charity so she could rest assured. I didn't hear anything back for about 3 days. On the 4th day after I'd left the message, the police show up to our firm's headquarters. We're almost all working remotely because of COVID, so they unduly terrified our teenage receptionist. I was also scared half to death because I had to have a serious meeting with my boss, in which she asked if I had misrepresented myself as a charitable worker and collected donations in a personal capacity because of the claims this woman made to our business. When I explained, my boss blew her off, and that's when she got the police involved. This woman called and said we were masquerading as a charity, scamming people out of money, so the police came to confirm we were operating a legitimate business. They saw nothing out of the ordinary, obviously, and that was that. Or so we thought. Fast forward to a week later. My boss got a letter from a lawyer. I don't know exactly what it said, but it accused us of scamming this woman and demanding her money be returned. I wish I could have just provided proof of the donation, but I have thousands of emails. I delete most of them, and I could not for the life of me find the confirmation email that reflected my donation. So, instead, my boss made another $100 donation to the charity and took a screenshot and sent it to the lawyer. We haven't heard from her, the lawyer, since, so I don't think she was wild about representing this woman in the first place. We have still gotten a couple wild phone calls from the woman saying since the date on the $100 donation is so recent, it means we still had the money, and we should have returned it to her when she asked, why, if she wanted to donate it to charity anyways. Anyways, my boss explaining we donated it the first time, and this was a second donation to assuage her concerns, has not helped. Eventually, we just blocked her number. Worst part is, due to COVID, we aren't having a carnival this year, so she'll be even more convinced we were making the whole thing up.
This encounter made my entire day. Last night I was at our local department grocery store, looking at a new mask since my nice one went missing when I was at the hospital giving birth recently. I was squatting down when I see a tiny pair of polka-dotted rain boots behind me and hear an "Excuse me, ma'am, where are the gloves?" I looked up to see this adorable little girl with blonde pigtails, probably about 5 years old, holding her daddy's hand and smiling at me. Her dad quickly apologized to me and explained to his daughter that I don't work there. She looked embarrassed, so I quickly told her she had beautiful manners and I wish I could help her. Her dad apologized again, and I told him not to worry about it, that his daughter was really sweet. As they were walking away, she looked back at me and told me thank you and to have a good night. Not only was this girl stinking cute, but she was so polite, and if I'm ever going to get mistaken for an employee, I'm glad it was by her. Also, a big shout out to her parents for teaching her amazing manners and how to properly ask for assistance.
For 04, the hotel you wanted to stay at no longer exists. This is kind of mixture between malicious compliance and I don't work here. TLDR, I took a booking for a local hotel I didn't work for, that was about to be demolished. Back in the late 90s I worked bar in a small town in rural Ireland, about 500 people, 3 pubs, 1 hotel. It's a wee seaside village and quite picturesque, and is therefore plagued by tourists during any holidays. We lived directly opposite the hotel. The hotel was about to be razed, cheers you bionic toe, to the ground and rebuilt without the 60 years of nicotine stains. The demolition was due to start in January, and the work due to be completed sometime in 2003. It's a small town. Everyone knows everything as long as it's about someone else's business. The hotel's reception phone number is 1 number away from my parents' landline number. It's New Year's Eve, or more accurately about 4 a.m. on New Year's Day. Home from my shift dealing with drunky jits that, as this was the 90s, want nothing but Baileys and creamed immense shots and Bacardi breezers, with the occasional Irish coffee and pint of Guinness that they'll order last as an afterthought and then complain about the wait. 4 a.m., my parents' living room. I'm having a wee decompress and a whiskey. Phone rings, instinct kicks in. Town name Harbour Bar, Happy New Year. A slurred Belfast accent winds into my auditory canal. For most people reading this, when you think of an Irish accent you probably think of a Cork or Galway accent, nice and lyrical. This is not the case with a spied Belfast accent. Think of a dentist drill that runs on tonic wine ordering McDonald's through its nasal passages. Spied, noun, if you're English think Charles, Scottish think Ned, Merkin think white trash I guess, etc., etc. A right mucker. I've had a fucking crack in time tonight. We are booking the same nights for next year. Room 109, Jamie Comfis. Sorry mate, you will have bother. Town name hotel is closing in January and reopening in 2003, and the number for reception is 555-5545. This is a private residence. How the fuck would you know that? You said this was the bar. Just put me through to reception, you lazy culture cunt. Culture, noun. Derogatory term for a country person. I fuck off, mate. I know razor sharp wit. Oscar Wilde would be proud. Hangs up. Rings. Don't you fucking dare hang up on me, you cowfucker bastard. Cowfucker bastard. A bastard who fucks cows. Belfast people often accuse the rurals of cow fucking, which is odd because pigs are so much lower maintenance and you can test cosmetics on them to pretty them up. Town name hotel reception is 555-5545. This is a private residence on 555-5554. Don't call again. This happens a few more times because the daft drunk cunt is just hitting redial. It escalates with varying degrees of profanity as we both have drink taken, me to a lesser extent. I unplug the phone from the wall. A few minutes pass. I'm formulating a plan. I plug the phone back in. It rings. I put on my best receptionist voice. Good morning. Town name hotel reception. How can I help you? Is that Mr. J. Cuntvis from room 109? How may I be of service? That's better. I want to book for next year, same nights. Certainly, Mr. Cuntvis. We even have a 50% loyalty discount as you're a previous guest, same days. Then right. Okay, that's all booked in for next year, arriving on the morning of the 31st. Yes. Brilliant. Wonderful. We will see you then. That year, I went away to uni, came back for Christmas. Many things happened in the time in between. But then New Year's Eve came along. My folks and I were in the living room looking out at a gigantic hole that used to be a hotel, and our other windows look out over the Bay TBF, and having a few beers. A car we don't recognize pulls up opposite the hole where the hotel used to be, and three confused-looking Belfast spies get out beside the big hole where town name hotel was. Something clicks in the back of my head, and I am just pishing myself laughing. I explained the whole thing to my dad, who I'd relayed the story to. These fuckers drove about an hour to get here just to find out they've got nowhere to stay. We enjoyed the show and opened fresh tins as they start screaming at each other in front of our house. It was a fun NYE.
Check out my other wonderful videos.